Hey everyone, thanks for coming. Um, yeah, I'm trying out something new. Um, we're trying Ecamm Live tonight, so please let me know if you can see me, if you can hear me. Hey everyone, thanks for. So, without further ado, I'm going to try and get a few things up and see what we can do. Right. Ha! So, we are trialing Ecamm Live. I don't know if you can see the watermark up here. You probably can do. Giving it a try. See, apparently I can get better quality than on. There's a bit more of a delay. You can get better quality than what I could on StreamYard. So please bear with me. Can't see me. You can hear. Okay. You can see me now. Cool. Excellent. We're getting there. So, what we are doing today, we are looking at Laravel Transporter. And to do that, we're going to build a custom Laravel Forge dashboard. Something pretty cool. Hold your applause, hold your applause. Right. Sorry, I had to try that just once. So, if you've not used Laravel Transporter before, it's a really simple library that I created, and the idea of it is you generate and send a request really quickly, really easily. No hassle, no fuss, just away you go basically. Cool, right, so I'm just going to get started. The Laravel Forge documentation's pretty straightforward, if I'm completely honest. It's not that hard to understand. It's not that hard to figure things out on. Yeah, I come up in the bottom right corner instead of the left. Yes, yes. I've moved myself out of the way a little bit more, in the hopes that you'll see more of me in the code section. So, here's the documentation. We're obviously going to be using Tailwind UI to style little components, and this will be built using a Laravel application and using Livewire this time. So I've set up a couple of things in the EMV. This is a relatively default application, Laravel application, default Laravel. We did a quick update to add funding stuff and README. Adding Forge token for team model was relatively simple. All we had to do there was add a new text field because in Forge they're quite long, and make sure it's nullable. Then I did a work in progress to get all of the front end assets done. Again, front end assets. And then just saving the Laravel Forge key. So, let me show you how it works currently. So I can log in. I've got an account already. And I'm just going to log in with my password here. So here's my default team. I've already gone through and I've updated my little avatar. I can do things in here. Come to my team. Here's my team settings. Here's my team Laravel Forge token. And the idea here is that I want to be able to invite people to join me on this outside of maybe Laravel Forge and the circles, and basically just allow people to quickly click buttons and deploy things or just manage servers really easily. Something really simple, but using Laravel Transporter, of course. And hi Edgar, my day is going good. The internet cut off for most of the afternoon, so I wasn't sure if I was going to make it tonight, to be honest. But we are doing well. We are doing well. So that's how I can get the... there you go. I've managed to get the comments and reactions and stuff. Ooh. Livewire, yes. We're not going to do too much with Livewire. The focus of this is going to be on the Laravel Transporter for now. So what I'll do... Yeah, I'm on my team dashboard here. There's my team settings. Switch team. Here's my current team. So what I'm going to do is on this little dashboard view down here, we should be able to get the current team. So let's just do a quick die and dump on auth user a second and see what information that's given us in here. So we have the current team. No relationships have been loaded from the looks of it. No. So we just got the current team ID. So what I might do actually, what I find really useful for this is to come over and go to Laravel debug bar by Barry VDH. I'm not actually sure how you meant to say his name. Yeah, I'm not even going to try to butcher that one. Sorry if you ever watch this, Barry. Spoken to you a few times, but I need a lesson to say that surname. For me, as someone who lives in the UK, it's quite a hard one. Right, so that's all that. That should have auto-registered in theory. I can get the config published. I always publish config. So now, in theory, I should be able to just undo this. I should have this. So, the queries we are running. Select all from teams. So, in theory, do we have like a team available? Okay, so let's see if we've got our team available. No, we don't have team. Okay. Navigation menu's got team. Select all from teams, where team is that. Has teams. What is this then? Has teams. So in theory we should be getting this straight away. This is a bit messy, isn't it? I should be able to get access to team here really. But what I'll do is auth user. Oh, actually, what happens if we die and dump on a session? Is it stored in like the session? Let's get all session information and see what's in here. Nothing. We've got flash stuff. No, previous, no. Okay, we haven't got anything exciting. So we're just going to go for auth user teams. I should be able to get like something like current team, I believe. Yeah, I've got current team belongs to. So I can get the current team quite simply. Like that, which will give us the attributes that I'm after. And that's perfect. We've got it. We have got it. So, what we're going to do, we're going to create a nice little Livewire component here. I'm not going to focus too much on the UI. So we'll create a nice little component here. And what this component will do, my playlist. I am currently playing through Spotify. Let me share it. Copy a link to playlist. There we go. Let me drop that in the chat a second. This is a band who are relatively local to me actually, called Punk Rock Factory. They're pretty cool, to be honest. Quite a fan of them. They do some really cool things. I'll leave that in the chat for you, so feel free to go ahead and find that. But they are absolutely fantastic. They do loads of cool songs. Right, so let's make a Livewire component. We're going to create a Forge directory. I'm just going to do something like let's list servers, right? Server list, something like that. So here's Livewire forge.server-list. Right, and we'll organize these windows a second. Here we go. There we go. Let's just drop that. Oh, we got this server list, data being passed to it. Cool. Right, let's get started. So, for this server list, we're going to want to. Yeah, no, I'm going to be killing that Forge API token anyway, but to make you all feel a little bit better, I will kill it now. Not that you'll remember it, because it's quite an API token to remember. That has already been deleted. So what I need to be able to do here is in our Livewire Forge server list over here, when we're mounting, we want to get the team out. So the team is going to be auth user current team. So I will assign that to something like this team, public team, there we go, that should give us that. That is not dying, which is nice, is what I like to see. So here's our team here. It's got everything there. That token no longer works, so don't worry, people. It's a very long token to try and remember. I will update that manually shortly. So I've got my team, and what I need to be able to do is when I mount, I need to get servers, basically. So this is where I need to create my first transporter request. So I'm going to zoom in on the terminal a bit. So make an API request. We're going to create a Forge request. Oh, I haven't even installed it yet. Here we go. Install Laravel Transporter because I forgot. And now I can make a Forge request. So let's just go to our Forge request here. And what we're going to do, we're going to make this an abstract Forge request. Evening, Dan. Thanks for coming, buddy. Won't worry about path or data. We're not going to worry about all of that, which means I can just delete that. My default is going to be a GET request, and then if we go back to the API documentation, here is our default URL that we need to go to. So I can add that one into here. And then what I need at this point is we're going to put a public function authenticate method. Let me zoom in. I don't know how good this is looking for people because this is my first time streaming at 1020p or whatever it's called. Oh, token. So then I can go this request with token, and then that's going to take the token as an argument. Don't need to pass a type, but I can return this, and that's basically what I need to do. There's my Forge request. Let's go back, look at the docs. Yep, that's all fine. Any errors? Servers. Let's go servers, list servers, API v1 servers. So now we can make a new request. So instead of a Forge request, I can make a server list request. So if we go look at that server list request down here, instead of extending that one, what I can do, I can drop all of this. Instead of extending that one, extend my Forge request. This is now servers, and that's it. So when I'm mounting, so let's just test this out. So our response, I'm going to give us some real estate here. So response equals server list request. We're going to build. We're going to authenticate using this team Forge token. Send. Now, if our response failed, usually what we'd do here is throw this response to an exception, as we would in Laravel. And if we don't, we would like die and dump out the response JSON, like this. So let's go have a look at our application here. Bang. We're getting null. We're throwing an error here. So what that means I need to do is come over to my team settings and create a new API token. And call it stream over and Forge. Copy that. That's quite a big token. I will be deleting this afterwards as well, but because it's a password field, you will not see it. Saved. So now if I go back to dashboard, I get my servers. Here's some servers. Perfect. That's simple. So what I need to think of here is for servers that I'm getting back, they're going to have certain parameters to it. So I kind of need to build like, am I going to use arrays for this? Am I going to use something else? Most likely. So this is where I'd come over to app and I'd go to create a value object or a domain transfer object, depending on how you want to call it. I would create a directory in here for Forge, for example, and I would go and create a new PHP class called server. Doesn't need much more than that right now. It's going to have an ID. So let's go through and add this public function, much like we would on any usual request, really. So we'd have a public int ID. Would have a string for a name. Size would have a size. Public string region. PHP version. So I could just say PHP. We can add the database type, if any. So I'm assuming that could be nullable at that point, right? And then obviously the IP address, which comes through as a string, which is great. I don't know what it gives us in network. Does it give us anything? nothing useful. Local public address, database type, CLI versions, size, provider ID, provider, name type. Does it give us type? No, I think we need to update the docs a little bit there, don't they? So we can get a type. So public string type. And it's got a provider ocean too, so that's obviously DigitalOcean there. So I'm going to see what I can do with some of these. We can go provider, and we'll leave it at that. We're not going to go too in depth because obviously this is more about Transporter than how the Laravel Forge API works. So we're going to need an action, right? So let's come into action and create a new Forge. We also need a factory to create the value object, so we can create a... This is just how I do it, bear in mind. A Forge factory, and within there it'll be a server factory. So, server factory, done. And all we need this server factory to do is it's going to have a static function make. I mean, you could just do a standard function and allow for dependency injection if you need it, but that's not how I'm using it right now. It's going to have data, and we're going to return back a server value object. Return new server, where the ID is data ID. Then the name is going to be, I'm just going to copy that for ease. Type provider. Size. Region. And these are the basic things we can put in. I think that's PHP version. That's probably database type. And obviously IP is going to be like IP address or something. I'll just go double check those ones. So we've got IP address, database type, and PHP version. So IP address, yeah, so there we go. Server factory is going to do that. Unused element, yeah, that's fine. That's not bothering me. All of that's looking good. What's going on? I'm in 1080p. Yes, we've got a HD Steve. So what we want in here, we're going to have an action called build server. Build servers, something like that. Build servers, and for this one we're going to have a public static function handle. This is actually going to get the response, the HTTP client response, and this is going to return, hopefully, an array. Fingers crossed. So we can return the response. Response collect. I could probably do sort of like a map maybe, and then to array. So I can map over each one coming back as a server, and then I can return a server factory make server. So let's just see what build server is going to give us. That's what was going wrong there, server list. So let's just die and dump here. We're going to die and dump on build servers, handle, let's do that. Ooh. Okay, so handle response. So when we get to build servers response, let's just die and dump on server here. Okay. I get the feeling I need to go inside something. Here. Get with JSON. Yes, inside servers. So collect servers basically here. Collect key servers map. Done. So we've got some value objects, but we're returning an array, which means that here we can say this servers equals that soon to be mounted. So now what we can do from this is in our resources, Livewire Forge server list. Let's get a dashboard. That's going to be here. So let's go over to Tailwind UI, application UI. Let's just get a nice little list, stacked list or grid list. We'll go for a nice little grid list. Which one should we go for? Something like this one, maybe. Just going to grab this. The server list is going to be here. So let's come back. Yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. Ooh, okay, what's going on here? Ooh, drop that. Actions is definitely something you can definitely get a lot of power from. Some good thoughts there from Dan is the actions. They're just single-use actions. Typically what you do in like a Zend application in the old days, or now Laminas or Symfony or any other PHP framework, is you'd take these action classes, what we're doing now, but they'll all be in like a service class. So we'd have something like a server's service, and then you say, okay, so server service list servers. But instead of having like 10 methods to interact with servers differently, we've split them out into single-use classes, which is, you know, a little bit more beneficial, I suppose. So that is one there. So what we want is in here we're going to do a for else. Oh, sorry, wrong language. For a second I thought I was in view. If it is empty, we'll do something else. We'll have an empty state. And we'll have an end for else. So speaking of empty states, we've got some nice empty states here. Um, yeah, grab any of these basically. Yes, that's exactly why I do it, Dan. It's, you know, I read that one out for anyone watching after the live stream. Is one benefit we've seen with them is that we can use the same action in a job command or just in a controller. It's a nice way to write code. Also nicely testable. Exactly. It's breaking things down into the smallest unit of work, and it's perfect. It just works so well, so well. Right, so if it is empty, I'm just going to have a div here. Let's just fix this span up a little bit. Alright, now let's go have a look, see what happens. Ooh, servers. So. There we go, we got something. We have got a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 servers now. So, yeah, it's not looking great, but it's working. So for this one, we can say something like we've got some servers. And then we can say something like, it's a shame I can't. There we go. Is that going to work? There we go. Let's see if this follows through. No. Okay. So I can come over to look at this. Don't need most of this now. So I want to get a type of server maybe, or the region. Let's put that something like the provider. And then we can do like a server region. There you go. Most of mine are in London under DigitalOcean 2. Well, with that Ocean 2, it would be great if I could do a switch for this one. How can we do that? Or am I just... I'm diving deeper into it than what I really need to here, aren't I? Let's go type. These are all app servers. Maybe we could have like the PHP version. Here we go. 5.6. Good job I don't look after that one. That's through circles. So we could also add this other stuff in there. But what I'm going to do quickly is... what could I do? We could maybe... Okay. I can't think of a nicest way to do this, if I'm honest. Because this needs to be done on each basis. We could do something like a... match the... match the provider like that, and then Ocean 2 could be come to simple icons. I can then search for something like DigitalOcean, copy that. I wonder if that would work. Views, come over, create a new directory. I don't use these very often, if I'm honest. So this is what I'd usually do. And then I'd go to here, I'd create a new file called digitalocean.blade.php. Okay, apparently this one's got a title. Viewbox, role, image, and stick some attributes in there. So then if I come back down to here, okay. Let's try that. And let's say is it showing? Or is it giving us it to us? No, before the image. Up here. He's given us something. It's definitely given us something. No, we'll have to look at another way to do that. But that's that's not important. This is giving us a nice little. Here's a server we can click to go through to it. So let's maybe make another one in here. We could maybe create. This isn't how I'd usually do everything, by the way. Then we'd do something like in here. We'd have directory Forge. Hey Haz, thanks for coming, buddy. And within here, we're just going to do another show, and going to be somewhat similar to that. Showing server. Show server. It is going good, thank you, my friend. Ooh. What's going on here? What's going on? There we go. Right. So we're doing a server list here. Let's go turn the whole thing into a ref. We're just going to do root forge server show server ID. Cool, that's working. Although that's just completely messed up by styling. Is what you want. Okay, we'll make that, and we'll just stick it on there instead. Odd. I'll have it all in an A. Let's see what happens. There you go. Relative back to normal. Apparently that is not working. So why is that not working? This is why I do back end. Okay. Let's just forget about that part, and we're just going to say view. Root. Why is that not displaying? Ah, wait, that's an A and an A and an A. Here we go. Now we're getting somewhere. So show server info there, and then this will get, you know, from here we could get server information just as easily. At this point you don't need it because you've already got that information. You could just pass the object through. But for the sake of this demonstration, I will obviously server get requests. We'll just do like a server show request. Well, we'll also do like server show here, so that this show can have a Livewire Forge dot server show. Now in 1080p, yes, yeah. I'm testing Ecamm out. Hopefully it works well. That is my aim. As long as it works well, I'll probably be using it more. So if we come over to our Livewire Forge show, at this point we are expecting the mount to happen. So what we'll do is just going to quickly dyn dump on the request all. So what's the path? Okay, so if I just dyn dump on this, we should be able to get something. Because what we need is how do I get that part of a URL? Decoder path, base path, path info. See what that does. Nope. Server. What's the server part about? Ooh, I can get lots of stuff. No, nothing useful there, is it? Nothing there. To array. No, factory post attributes has missing root. Is this gonna? What's this gonna give us? Okay. So the root will also give us the. Yeah, I could pass it to the component, but I'm just trying to get this part. Hey, we got it. So I can get that and pass that through now in the show method down here, so that our ID is, or should I say server ID, is that server show. This will be a string, and we can dump on server ID. Perfect. So we've got the server ID now. So much like this, build, authenticate. We need to set the team as well. So let's just grab that team. Here's our team. We've got a server ID, so that now we can come through and do the server show request. We're going to build it. And we're going to authenticate, where the token is this team forge token. Send. If response failed, then we will throw response an exception. Otherwise, let's just dump on response JSON. Boom! What's going on? Mathematical transporter request. Okay, so now we can go through to this part. Extends forge request. I can drop that. So I can drop all of that. So server show, authenticate, set path, where the path is going to be here we go, we've got a server. So there's JSON there, so what I can do, I can set this server to be the server factory. We're going to make And the data we're going to pass in is the if I just do that. Nope, it's just saying nope, nope. Numeric string array null or boolean. Okay. So that means that we need to quickly add a helper method onto our value object where we can say something like to array. This is basically what we do when I'd usually save, build a value object and then save this to the database. So all I need to do is return an array where the ID is this ID. Ooh, mix of English and American. The name is this name. Type this type. Provider is provider. Give a size. The region. The PHP. Database is this database. Server show. So we now got a server. So on our show, down here in Livewire Forge server show, I can just come over to Tailwind UI now and just grab let's grab like some details screen or some description. Detail screen. Not that one. Something like this. Let's copy that. So we can just quickly say server information, server IP, app type, or server type, server name, yeah, I'm building UI for their API. I'm not rebuilding Forge at all. I wouldn't even want to try to rebuild Forge, that's for sure. That is complicated. So it's a server type app. I think this is using the JIT, so I'm going to run this in the background. Let's make sure that styling works as expected. Yeah. So we've got the server type. You can have like the provider. There's a provider. PHP version. You can have the database type. And yeah, you get the idea there, right? And obviously it's about information's not useful, and these attachments aren't anything useful. And then from there you could in fact, if you really wanted to, you could go through to edit server, you could go resize it through the API. I'm not going to go through that because all of the servers I'm listing are things that I don't really want to change. So come back to my dashboard. Here we go. I believe this is my work one, maybe. Yep. Oh, I just deleted. Just close that tab. My bad. There we go. Bring you back. There we go. And then test sites. There we go. That's that part working. So what else could I do? I could do close all of these off, and then on the dashboard again, we could have sites, Forge, sites list. Let's come back to here. Make API request, site list request. So typically all of these would be in Forge typically, but because I'm not integrating with any other APIs, I'm just sticking with this. So transporter requests, site list again. This is going to extend the Forge request, so we don't actually need anything other than this, which we can just put sites. So that in our Livewire component down here, site list. If we come down to our mount method, we can say this team equals auth user current team, and we'll just do a quick public team, and then we can get a response. Let's make sure we got visibility on this one. So site list request, we're going to build that, then we're going to authenticate, and the token we're going to authenticate is this team Forge token. Send. Then if it failed, so the response to an exception, that's it. Otherwise we're just going to dump response JSON for now. So dashboard, bang, we have got sites, 40 sites, and obviously because these are all different Livewire components, they're just sending off as they're loading. So now I can do something like collect on sites, random one, another random one, loads and loads of them. Oh, I can delete that site because that site doesn't work anymore. I killed it. There we go, dev square foot capital, square foot capital. This is where I currently work. Nice and simple. It works. So that is a site from our account, the circle that I am in. And if I came over and if I just refresh this, if I like create a new team, and we're going to call this one no team. There we go. So basically what that's showing me I need to do now is in my server list is basically wrap all of this in a if this team forge token okay. So I probably need to do this here too. Let's grab this. So if is not null, this team forge token. There we go. That one's the static, the empty state for the server list. Create a new server, and then obviously something very similar for the site list here. Create a new site for each site as site. Comment it out for now. Site list, public array, sites, create a new site. Here we go, we got there. So because I haven't actually got an API key, it's not going to do anything. It's just going to skip sending those requests. As soon as I switch, bang, I'm starting to get information. Haven't got any sites yet because we've not actually performed the request. We're just not actually interacting with them. So what we can do, much like we did up on our actions up here for Forge, we can say build sites. New PHP class, build sites, and this is our action class, which is handled. So public static function handle. This is going to get an array. No. It is going to get a response. That one, HTTP client one, and it is going to return an array. So I can return response collect sites. I'm going to map over them. And we're going to say to array. As a mapping over them, I can say function site. Technically, I should be able to do that because why wouldn't I? Make sure that's not going to die. Yeah, that's cool. And then within here, I can return something else. So factories, I can come to here, Forge, I can say new site factory. Come down to my value objects, Forge, new PHP class, we've got a site. We can just add a public function construct. Come over to our API documentation, sites, and our site, let's just look at get site. It's going to have a public ID, going to have a name, public array aliases, we'll add the directory in there. Whether it allows wildcards. Its current status, so public status. So if you create a new one and go straight through to view this one, it will give you like whether it's installing, it's booting, whatever it might be doing. Repository. I'd keep it that for now. I think all the other stuff I can do really well, and it's not going to add anything to this specific part. So let's get a site factory here, and public static function make, where we get an array of data, and we're going to return a site. And let's just say return new site, where the ID is data, ID, status, aliases, directory, let's just do all of this, and then just sort the arguments properly. That'll give us that, but this is also going to want a toArray method. So let's just return this as an array. So we can say, here's the ID, name, aliases, directory, wildcards, current status, and the repository. So build sites, what we're going to do, we're going to return a site factory, make where the data is the site. There's our site list. So what we can do now is we can say this site equals here we go. Get in there, get in there. Okay, so repository could be null, apparently. And oh, go back. Now we've got that bit. Build servers, site factory, build sites, site list. There's a request, there's a dashboard, server list, site list. So within here we can have, ignore linking to it because it's going to be exactly the same as what we did with servers. And we can have site name. What else did we get? We have a site directory maybe. And we can have the site status. So here we go. And here we go. Installed, lots of installed sites. As you can see, it works pretty well. Obviously some sites are going to have the default site installed still, but loads of sites all coming from the API. Right, so that's all of that. That's how that all works. What else can we get from the API? Let's just check. How long have I been streaming for now? A little bit of time. A little bit of time, not too long. Let's have a quick drink. Right. Time for some DJ Horn, and let's see what we're going to do next. Site commands. So we could execute a command on a site. So I don't know if I want to do that. That could be execute a command, list command history, so commands. Command status finished. Get command. Get the output. That could be useful, but I don't think I'm gonna go down that route right now. Yeah, sorry, that's a DJ air horn. I've got some pretty cool sound effects that I can run. So let me see if this will show you. It's not actually showing you, but I can play a triangle, for example. I can have an applause. I can have lots of different sounds, which is kind of interesting. Okay, so recipes. What recipes could we do? List recipes. Sorry. Monitoring. We could look at backups quite easily. Run a backup. Install WordPress for a site. Webhooks. Redirects workers. Nginx templates. Databases. Let's look at databases. So let's list some databases. It's going to be very similar, but that's kind of like the idea of Transporter. Everything is so simple. It's kind of straightforward to do. Let's just look. We need to have a server ID for our databases. So we're probably going to be best is if we come to like here. Here's our server. We're looking at showing a server now. And what we could do is when we're showing this server show, we're going to do this. So we could do something like this. Get server. Then we can run this. Get databases. We're going to have a get server. And we're going to pass the server ID 3 to it, like that, and maybe server ID 3 to it like that. So then we can go, this team is that, and let's just drop this in there. Let's move this to the top because we want that to be set first. So it's getting servers. Let's just add the get databases. No, this isn't going to have a return at all. Neither is this. Mind you, neither is this. So there we go. All of that's working, and then obviously this takes that server ID also. Database takes in the server. So what we can do there is, let's just make sure it still loads, and it does. So what we can do is the response is database list request build. We can just bootstrap how it's going to look. So we're going to have a authenticate. That's going to authenticate with a token, which is this team Forge token, and we can set the path to be, come back to here, server ID, and MySQL. Servers, server ID, only MySQL. We can send that request. If the response failed, then throw that response to an exception. Otherwise, for now, we're just going to die and dump the response JSON. Right. Make an API request. There we go, we got it, and this is going to extend the Forge request, which means they can go, and pretty much all of that can go right now. And then we can come back to here and just run it. And we got some databases. We have 17 databases on our account. That simple. That is how simple it is to get on with Laravel Transporter. So all I've got to do now, Forge, I can go over here, I can create a new database object. Okay, stop asking me that. So we can have a public function construct what's on our database. So our database will have an ID, a name, and a status for now. So public int ID, public string name, and a public string status. We're going to need the array as well. So public function to array. This is going to return an array. So let's get the ID, get the name, and let's get the status. There's that. So we need our factory, our database factory. And all we're going to need from this is a quick make function, which is going to return a database. And this is going to return that from an array of data. Return new database. Database. The ID is data ID of a name and a status. Really simple, really clean. And another action, and we're just going to create this one and call it build databases. And this is a public static function handle. This is going to accept a response from the HTTP client, and it is going to return an array. So we can return response collect. We want to get a collection of databases. We're going to map over them and return an array. So this is an array of a database. Return database factory make where the data is a database. So we can close that off. Super simple here, and then we can say this databases is going to be build databases, handle the response. I don't need that. And we can say public array databases. It's going to have an empty state by default. But what we're also going to do is we're going to grab these and we're going to say if we shouldn't ever get to this stage, but just in case, if this team forge token if it's not null, do that basically. Yeah, I don't mind about that right now. Databases, cool. Right, let's go refresh. We got it. So what we need to do, here's our site list, here's our server list. Basically we can grab that entire thing, come down to where we are doing site show, or a server show. Yeah, server show. That's what we wanted. Let's just div class py12. Drop this in here. Reach database as database. Create new database. Let's just fix that up. And then within here, we're not going to do any actions there. Database name, and we have like database status. It's got to be in an array. I think no, it shouldn't be. Hey. Status, blah blah blah, lots of cool stuff. Cool, let's see. Right, undefined variable databases, perfect. So service show, service show, show. Here's database, here's database. Server shows that. Ah, okay, wait. I need this to be somewhere else. This needs to be inside of Livewire over here. Server show. Let's just drop this in there. Let's see what happens. Got it. All of these databases from this server. So let's come to this one. We've got some databases. Got some other databases. As you can see, all of these are working nicely. Perfect. That is lots of GET requests, obviously. And I use it a lot for GET requests. Let's have a look at what we could do for something that isn't a GET request, that isn't going to cause any issues. Recipe. Or recipe. Or command. Or yeah. Let's go to the recipes. I've been streaming. Have I got a timer anywhere? Hour and 27 minutes. I quickly go through recipe, like creating a recipe. So what we'll do is we will go to web. Come to here. And we're just going to do this one. We're just going to have recipes. View. So we are Forge. New directory. Recipes. Yeah, it'd be really cool to see if we could do that actually. I haven't got any cache stuff set up at the minute. How could I do some caching? Cache driver Redis. So I have got something. What I'd probably do is like site list. I'd probably cache that. Like something like site list. What are we doing that on? This current team. Okay, so we could do something like cache put, and the argument that we'd take into that one is the key for this is going to be team dot this team ID and the value. Can that be a callable? Yeah, looks like it can be a callable. we set a TTL of like this. No, I don't think we. I don't want to push. The idea was that the idea is that the transporter requests, they are wrappers around the HTTP facade. So if I could do this using like HTTP with token get like that. I could do it like that instead of doing it this way. There's nothing wrong with doing it this way at all, but if your API changes, if you want to increase your parameters, if you want to send a very specific like accept JSON, for example, if you want to do anything like that, then you've got to go to all of references where you're calling this API endpoint, whereas I don't need to do that. I can just come straight to here and just update it on here, because this is the request itself, transporter request. It is just a wrapper around the pending request. That's literally all it does. It's a wrapper class with some helper methods. The entire thing is 172 lines long. That's it. This is nothing more than that. Let me just do that. Let me see if this is going to work, because I'm not actually sure if I need to set stuff up properly. So site list, Forge, dashboard. Hey. Serialization of closure is not allowed. Okay. This site equals that. Then return cache put what we're expecting. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not too sure on this one, if I'm completely honest. I need to look at a nice way to do caching for some of these requests, but it would be along these lines. I've not actually had to cache them yet, but I agree. We definitely need to look at a way to cache some of these requests. Be nice if I could do something like I don't know, maybe can you cache that? Cache the response? That just returns true, right? Yeah, no, that'd be, yeah, perfect opportunity. If you can get that on the pending request, I can use that straight away on Transporter, but also anybody using Laravel can do the same. And if we can push that upstream and set it onto this library, even better in my eyes. Even better. Right, so back to where I was. I won't talk about cache anymore. That's definitely something to push elsewhere. So this is our recipes, and our recipes are going to be similar to this. Recipes show. Oh, recipes list. We're not going to have a server ID. So let's recipe list. recipes. That's giving us a 404, so let's go check the web over here. Here we go. Recipes index not found. Let's quickly refactor and let's rename this one to index. Here we go. So recipes, and we can drop that. No, wrong one. So recipes index over here. So recipes, recipe list. So now we just need to work on this recipe list over here. So Livewire, Forge, recipe list. Be very similar to this, perhaps. So then we can come over to our recipe list request over here. Nope, component. Yep, don't know what I'm doing. Mount. Then we can say this team equals auth user current team public team. Declare that quickly. Then what we want to do is if this team Forge token isn't null, then make the request at this point. So we'll scaffold it out and we will say recipe list request. We're going to build this out. We're going to authenticate using this team Forge token. Then we're going to send that request. If the response failed, then we want to throw the response to an exception. Otherwise, we will quickly just die and dump on the response. JSON collect done. Right, so let's grab this recipe list here. Recipe list request, make API request, recipe list request, which means we can now just import that one and come through to it. We're going to extend the Forge request. It means we can drop those, drop that, and drop that. And for this to work, we need the recipes. Yep, spelled correctly. So let's just refresh. We've got no recipes. Perfect. So recipe list over here. What we will do is API, what do we have? It's name user script. Okay, we'll follow the same as we did before quickly. We will go through to Forge and we will say PHP class build recipes. this is our action, so we will public function handle it. We are going to get the response coming in, so we can get the response there. We're going to return an array. Then we're going to say response collect our recipes. We're going to map over them and return them as an array. As we're mapping over them, we will work with the recipe itself, and we will return recipe factory, make data is recipe. Right. Next step is this one. Come down to our factory, create a new one, recipe factory, import class, add that method. So let's return a new recipe where the ID is data. So we've got the ID. We have got the name, user, and script. So there we go. Now I just need to go create this in our value objects down here. And let's import that. We can quickly do a public function construct on this, and we'll have a public int for the ID, a string for the name, user, and script. So that should be everything, allowing us to do this one. To say handle, and then the response is the response, which means that I can say come back to here. I'm not bothered about servers, so our recipe list over here, we can say for each recipes as a recipe, we can just ignore that. We have the recipe name, recipe user, and our recipe script. Create a new recipe. Hey, create a new recipe. Done. Right, that's all of that. That works. Oh, right, where are we? What we want to do is when we click on this, Forge recipes create. go to web, and create a new one. View recipes, new file, create top-load.php, create a new recipe. Here we go. It's going to be very similar. Create a new recipe. How to do that? Let's close some of that down, close that off. So what we need to do at this point is we need a new Livewire, new recipe form. And what we need to pass through to it from the API is a name, user, and script. So we can come all the way up here to our recipe form. A string. Protected rules. It doesn't tell us what's required, but I'm assuming all of it is required. So I'm assuming name is required and string, and then I'm basically just going to replicate that because the API the docs aren't telling me. And then we'll set the script to be the same thing. So then we can do a public function submit. Say this validate, and come down to our recipe form. Here we go. So now I can come over to Tailwind UI. Come over to a form layout. Let's just come grab one of these forms. So like this one. Inspect this. Put this in this. And then we can just copy this element and do this. Right. Come over to here. Use this form to create a new recipe on Laravel Forge. There we go. So drop that. Basically want this. Type submit form action. We're not going to have an action. We have a wire submit.prevent. And we're just going to hit this submit. So submit blah blah blah. Grid goals blah blah blah. Let's get back a second. Yeah, is that. So user name, user, and script. So we're going to have for name, recipe name, name, my awesome recipe. Then we also want to do something like let's set that to be required. We're also going to autofocus on this one, but we're also going to say wire model name. So basically we just need these 3 times. Let's just do this. I can't autofocus more than once, so we'll remove that one. And that one. So recipe name, recipe user, user John Snow, name, recipe user, user, cool, and recipe script. We'll just do something like that. Right, and now if I just click that, come back to our reply form. Under here, we can die and dump on this name. We got it. So there's our form. We're not going to do validation stuff because that's just Livewire specific. We are going to make a new API request, recipe create request, recipe transporter. Here we go. Recipe create request. This is a Forge request. This is actually going to be a post request this time, so we can update that. We're going to need data, and we're going to need that, but we're not going to need that. Wait, actually, we'll update data later. And the path is recipes. So this form, we can go response equals recipe create request. We're going to build, then we're going to authenticate. Okay, so we're going to have to public function mount. Set this team to be the auth user current team, public team. Usually I'd spend a lot more time doing like building out really nice components and making sure I don't have to do this all the time, but for now, just to show you this, I was going to do it. So our token is going to be this team Forge token. Send. So what we want is to set the with data. So the data that we want to send, this is what the API is going to get as a JSON request for what we're doing here. So what we will do is we will have the name as this name, the user as this user, and the script as this script. Simple, simple. Then if this fails for any reason, then for now we're just going to throw this response to an exception. Otherwise, we're going to return a redirect to a specific route. Going to do that. Something really simple like this. And we've got a recipe. That's up on the API now. So I can now come and create another one. Recipe's new. There we go. Got another one. So that's simple. That is how simple it is to start interacting with APIs. As you can probably see, most of that work was actually in all the surrounding things like the value objects, the factories, the actions, the components, and the UI. Actually, just working with the API it's I hate to say it, but it's child's play. It's super simple. I'm almost hitting my 2 hours, so I'm going to call it a day here. If you've got any questions, reach out to me on Twitter, but thank you very much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you very much. Good night.